Hello, everybody. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing as I did yesterday. Yeah. Okay, I can see that I am on. And let me just make sure. Okay, I show 3 eyeballs. Hi, Tammy. Okay, so I know that I am live. Kelly's on. Awesome. All right, you guys. Today is day 2 of our Health and Harmony 3-day series, and I'm just really grateful that you're here and that you guys are like participating and taking it seriously. I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect from this, but it's been way better than I even thought would be possible. So we're just going to jump right in. It's been awesome to read your hi Amy, hi Dory, hey Jen. It's been so awesome to read your I am statements and your homework from yesterday. So keep those coming. You have all the way until Saturday at noon to complete everything and be in the running for our prizes. Okay, so we're going to recap day 1. So if you're hopping in today for day 2 and you haven't listened to day 1, no worries. You're more than welcome to be here. I definitely recommend going back and listening to day 1. Okay, it said something went wrong. Okay, hopefully we're still good. Okay, so definitely recommend going back and listening to day 1. But I'm going to recap what we went over in day 1 and then jump right into day 2. So I talked about the idea of harmony and why we want to prioritize harmony instead of balance. There we go. Now it's a little bit better. Okay, because remember, balance is almost impossible, but harmony is finding within the chaos and the craziness of life this inner peace as we strive for that desired future identity. So, and then to find harmony, what we can do is align our routines and rituals, what we do on a daily basis, with that future identity. And what your identity is actually the beliefs that you hold about yourself. And it is possible to change that identity if you focus on positive self-talk and the routines and rituals to be in alignment with who you want to be. Then we talked about the non-negotiables, so those big rocks, and just making sure that your health is a top priority. It is a big rock and it goes in first, along with like faith and family, right? It's a big one. And then all the little pebbles and sand can fill in the rest of the space within your jar of life. And then we talked about self-love. So one of the strategies to increase your self-love is to look for things to love about yourself. I know it sounds so simple, but a lot of times we are just so critical and we're looking for the things that we hate, and therefore that's what shows up, instead of looking for the things that we can love, and then more of that will show up. We talked about this mindset shift around self-care, and instead of thinking of it as a trip to the spa or a pedicure, what if we thought about it as caring for that vessel that we get, the one body, and respecting it and nurturing it through movement, nourishment, and connection. And then we talked about how a self-care strategy, I know you can't really see it, but it starts with that I am statement. Awesome job. Hey, Katie. Hi, Tracy. Hey, Rebecca. Super glad you guys are on. Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. So within our Health and Harmony 3-day series, this is what you can expect. So day 1, we went over what I just covered, and the replay is in our Facebook group, and I also did figure out how to upload it to YouTube, so I'll be sending that out to those who are not on Facebook. Then you have your homework to really apply what it is that you're learning to your life. So a lot of times when we as adults do this like personal development or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, that was super inspiring while I was there at the conference or listening to the podcast or whatever, but we don't actually take the time to take the action and really get it ingrained into our everyday life. So that's what the homework is meant to do. Today is day 2. You're going to watch the live or replay. Comment that you're on here, which you guys are doing. Awesome. And or if you're on here for the replay, don't forget to write replay so that I know you watched it. You'll have homework items to turn in from today. And then if you haven't yet done this, I would love to hear from you if you want to introduce yourself within our Facebook group. So just as a reminder, this 3-day series is kicking off this Facebook group. I have been like losing sleep lately because I'm just so excited about creating this community and just being very intentional with sharing the expertise and the years of just practice that I've had in this arena of women's health and wellness. And I really want this to be a place where you feel like you can be vulnerable and share what's icky, what is not going well, and then also share your wins with each other, because that is what we are meant to do. We're meant to live this life together and support each other. So that's my intention and my goal with this group. So if you want, just start the conversation by introducing yourself. Maybe you could share an aha, what you've learned so far, or maybe even a question from our training so far. Okie doke, so what to expect from today. So we're gonna bust some myths about fitness and nutrition. We're going to talk about why lifting weights and prioritizing protein is so important, especially as women in midlife. We're going to learn some simple strategies to implement both into your life. And then what does it actually look like IRL, in real life? Okay, so as humans, we are meant to move our bodies and fuel our bodies. We are not meant to sit in a desk, sit in a car, eat convenience processed chemicals, and be on 10 different medications. So when it comes to moving, there is just so much more to exercise than just the physical, obviously. And you guys know this, like exercise is so good for the mental health, for the physical health. It helps our heart, it helps our muscles, helps our blood flow, all the things. But what it also does is it teaches discipline, and it helps you prove to yourself that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. It's empowering and it builds confidence. It is the ultimate form of self-respect. Nobody else can do it for you. There are lots of different types of exercise. And as I was thinking about what I really wanted to share here today, I could spend easy an hour on each one of these topics. And if you are doing one-on-one coaching with me, you know that is like we can really break these things down. And as it relates to you personally, what is it that you need to focus on? But in general, what I find is that most women are not getting the strength training, the regular strength training that they need in order to combat what happens in midlife, which is we lose bone and muscle mass at an alarming rate after the age of 30. Okay. So, but as you probably know, there are lots of different facets of movement, cardiovascular training, one of my favorites, strength training, the ultimate in my opinion, stretching, yoga, such an important part of our overall wellness routine, balance and mobility. This is something that I really focus on a lot in my fitness classes because one of the most common ways that we can decline as we age is injury. And a lot of times if we don't have great balance, that increases our possibility of injury and like the risk of injury. And so a lot of times when we're doing bicep curls, for example, we're going to stand on one leg because that's teaching your body to all those little muscles and tendons in the ankle joint and around the foot and ankle are going to protect your body by increasing that balance. And then mobility, oh my goodness, you guys, my mom has had shoulder surgery because one of her arms goes all the way up and the other one goes to right here. And it's like so frustrating for her because otherwise she's very healthy, but the mobility part is really starting to hold her back. Like she tries to come over and help me put the dishes away and she can't get her arm up. And it's like, oh, that is why we need to be doing things like this throughout our day. And if we don't have intentional exercise built into our routine, we're not going to get it. Core training, you guys don't need me to tell you about that one, super important. And then obviously getting outside is one of the most beneficial things you can do for mental and physical health. Okay. And then as far as nutrition, again, I could spend easy several hours talking to you guys about what I have learned through personal experience and through working with clients for the past 25 years. But what I'm going to tell you, as you already know what today's topic is about, protein is the most important thing that we need to be focusing on, again, as women in midlife, because, again, muscle loss and bone density decrease as we age. And really the only two ways to combat that is to lift weights and eat protein. Okay, but here's the bottom line with nutrition. Like if you just take nothing else from today, remember this, that we need to eat to survive. So whether you have head trash about nutrition, whether you have an unhealthy relationship with food, just know that nutrition is the most powerful lever that you can pull when it comes to our overall health. So please stop dieting, please stop restricting, please stop depriving yourself of what we actually need, which is food to fuel our body. And here's the other thing. I will say that for the past, 15 years or so, I've been trying to drill this in as many heads as I possibly can, but most women actually are not eating enough. Every time I start with a new client, she wants to tell me like, "Oh, it's probably the chocolate chips." It's like, "Nope, it's probably not the chocolate chips. It's probably the fact that you didn't eat until 2 p.m. Maybe you had a latte, but you sent the kids out the door with this beautiful breakfast and they had a beautiful packed lunch, and you were an afterthought until about 2 o'clock when you were so hangry that you had to grab a protein bar because your body didn't have any fuel in it," right? So that's the point, is we just have to be eating in order to function properly. And most women are also just not getting enough protein. So overall, and if any of that like resonated with you, I would love to hear in the comments. Was any of that already like, oh, that's a different way to think about this. So just some of the top things that, again, I could spend a long time on are: ditch the diet. We just need to be fueling. Stay hydrated. That is like the cheapest and easiest thing that you can do for your overall health, is just get into the habit of having water with you all the time. Aiming for balance with our macronutrients. Okay, so this is where the prioritized protein is going to come in. So I used to, about 10 years ago or so, I was coaching macronutrients mainly. But then I realized, you know what? People are getting the carbs and they're getting the fat without me having to tell them. It's the protein that they're not getting. So if we just focus on that, I'm always looking for ways to make this so simple and really get it into your brains, what we need to focus on. So the easiest thing is just to prioritize protein, and the carbs and fat, they're going to work themselves out. Okay, we'll get more into that later. Obviously, we need a variety of fruits and vegetables. Most of us are creatures of habit. Most of us are getting the same few fruits and veggies throughout the day. Without being intentional with it, it's easy to kind of get into a rut, and then we're just missing out on a lot of the antioxidants and different things that we could be getting from phytochemicals and all the things that come from things that grow in our earth. And finally, this is huge, you guys. Food is a huge part of being a human. Like when we get together with family, it revolves around food. When we get together with friends, it usually revolves around food. So we need to figure out how we can find foods that we enjoy that also make us healthy. That's the goal. Awesome job, you guys. Jessica, quinoa salad. I believe so. I will make sure I get you that. And touch on proteins that are vegetarian. Absolutely. We're going to get into that. All right, you guys, thanks for being active in the comments. So bottom line, as women in midlife, we have to lift weights. We have to prioritize protein in order to build muscle, protect our bone density, lose fat, increase energy, and feel your best. Okay, so some of the myths. We're going to start with fitness. Cardio is the best way to lose weight. Okay, it's just not true. You can do hours and hours on the treadmill and on the elliptical, and I promise you that is not what's going to move the needle when it comes to weight or just overall health. I remember I grew up in the gym basically, and you would just see the same people day in and day out doing the same moves over and over and over again, and their bodies just weren't changing. And it was like, oh my gosh, can I please tell you about nutrition? Like that's going to be the thing that's going to help you move the needle. And then with fitness, we're just meant to move our body. So let's find some things that we enjoy. Again, just like nutrition, when you enjoy it, when you intrinsically crave it, that's when you know that you have reached a habit and that's something that is sustainable for you. Okay, myth, lifting weights makes women bulky. Okay, so I had a spell of about 7 years or so where I would train super hard and get up on a stage in a bikini. My days of doing that are over. However, I will tell you that myself and a lot of my people that I would train with, and then I also coached a lot of women to do this exact same thing. It is very, 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 very difficult to get bulky. Even when you want to, it's really difficult to do that. Okay, now some people just naturally have a more muscular build, but most women, we just have too much estrogen in our body in order for muscles to really pop like that. Okay, so don't be afraid of that. Do not be afraid of lifting weights. It's not going to make you bulky, I promise. Okay, myth, I need to work out every day, at least an hour a day to get fit. And that is just not true. Okay, so Before COVID, I have always taught in like a gym setting, or here in Issaquah, I was teaching at the Issaquah Community Center. Shout out to anybody who's on that used to be a Fit Zone friend at the community center. And when we would get together in an in-person setting, like you would drive there and then you'd chit chat before class, and then we would do a long warm up, and then we would work out, and then we'd do a long cool down, and then we would chit chat, and then we would drive home. Like it was easy, a 2-hour affair, right? It's just not necessary. Okay. So now, since working from home and teaching online, my workouts are 30 and 45 minutes, and I'm telling you, they're intense and it's quick and it's easy, and not easy, but it's easy to fit into your day. And that is definitely all we need. Even 10-minute sessions stretched out throughout the day is totally fine. So there is not like this amount of time you have to exercise in order to get fit. Okay, myth, you need fancy equipment to get in shape. Honestly, you need some good old-fashioned dumbbells, and you need your body and maybe a mat. That is all you need. Okay, any questions or aha moments? You guys pop them in the chat. I would love to hear. Okay, why we must be lifting weights. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Peter Attia. So he is the author of Outlive, the Science and Art of Longevity. And he says strength training should be part of your exercise regimen if you want to add quality years to your life. He recommends building as much muscle as possible. Research shows that the bigger and stronger your muscles are, the longer you'll live and the healthier you will be. People in the lowest quartile of grip strength, so the weakest, had a 72% higher incidence of dementia compared to the top quartile. Doesn't it seem like those two things shouldn't even be related, but they are? And then finally, going from 0 weekly exercise minutes to 90 minutes a week can reduce your risk of dying from all causes by 14%. There is no drug or any other solution that can do that. Awesome. Okay, we're going to get into that more of that protein stuff in a little bit. Okay, why we must be lifting weights. So there are so many benefits to lifting weights for women in midlife, but the number one is preserving your muscle mass and increasing your bone density, or protecting your bone density. It also helps with our metabolic health. It actually regulates our hormones. It improves our overall hormone health. It enhances our functional strength, balance, and mobility. It supports our joint health. It reduces chronic pain, and it improves our mental health and our cognitive function. So a lot of those might be kind of surprising to you. So I'm going to talk about the last one first. So the mental health and the cognitive function. So mental health, when you show up and you do something hard and you do it anyway, and you finish that class and you're like, dang, I did the dang thing. I can do anything that life throws my way today because I already did that hard thing today. That mental health, that like component of just confidence and self-esteem, I'm telling you, it is lifting weights, exercising, it is the magic elixir for mental health. I promise you. And then as far as cognitive function, so anybody on here who takes my class, so sometimes I'll be like, we're going to do this, this, and this, and it's all strung together, and you have to remember this. Not that I ever do like crazy, choreography or anything like that, but say we were doing like what we did on Tuesday, an AMRAP, or as many rounds as possible. So I'll say we're going to do, 5 squats, 5 shoulder presses, and 5 push-ups. You have to remember, like you got to count, you got to think about what I just did, what's the pattern I'm doing. That cognitive ability that you're doing, just to remember like a simple sequence, is actually really important, and it's built in to exercise. The rest of these I think are pretty obvious. I mean, the hormones might be surprising to you guys, but that bone density and like reducing the risk of osteoporosis, preventing muscle mass, and that metabolic health, super, super impactful. Here's the other reason we need to be lifting weights. It just makes us feel badass. It makes us feel powerful and strong and athletic and accomplished. And again, it is so much more than just the physical benefits. When you commit to something, it creates this discipline inside of you that you're like, dang, I didn't even know that like I had this in me. And when something becomes a routine, then it's not even about discipline. It's just what you do. It's who you are. And then lifting weights is one of those ways that you really can care for your vessel, because it's really, you are the only one that can do it. Nobody else can do that for you. Okay, so myths about nutrition. So we're going to shift weights and go back to the prioritizing protein. So carbs are bad. I just want to say, I don't think there would be something that grows in our earth that is meant for us to consume that is detrimental to our health. So, what I'm talking about is beans and quinoa and lentils and sweet potatoes. These are things that, like, in our earth are created so that the humans that live on the earth can eat them and get energy. Like, how is that bad? I know carbs got a really bad rap a few years ago. I think we're coming back around to be like, okay, they're not so bad anymore. But I still encounter clients a lot, often, who are like, oh my gosh, I did great. I didn't have any carbs for a few days. And it's like, really? How did that make your brain feel? Did you all of a sudden feel like you couldn't remember anything and that you had zero energy and your brain just wasn't functioning? So we really are meant to consume carbohydrates. It's just really important to choose the right ones and make sure that we're watching our portions. But again, as we're going to talk about, when you prioritize protein, you're probably not going to take in as many carbs naturally because you're filling up on the stuff that's actually going to help you build your muscle mass, which increases your metabolism and all the other good stuff. All right. Oh, Mary, how heavy should your weights be? If you read the book Outlive, you would be shocked about how heavy he says we need to be lifting. But I will share in a couple of slides really my take on that. Is very similar to exactly how many protein grams should we be getting. The truth is, assess where you are today and just try to increase a little bit over time. Because as women, we're not going to be lifting 30 pounds over our head, two 30-pound dumbbells. It's just not realistic. And we're probably not going to be getting 150 grams of protein on every day, right? A lot of these guidelines, like, we do need to have something that we're striving for and not just like arbitrary, like, I don't know, I think I lifted heavy, but it does need to challenge you, but we also need to be careful of injury and things like that as well. Okay, myth number 2, the more I eat, the more weight I will gain. Again, most women are not eating enough. Okay, so, I mean, some people say like, hey, I've got this great appetite and I eat 5 or 6 meals throughout the day. Like, then you're probably not who I'm talking about. But most women are restricting, dieting, depriving, and thinking like, oh, if I'm going out to dinner tonight, I just better not eat all day, right? Or if I skip breakfast and I eat like a bird at lunch, maybe have like a tiny little yogurt and a few, goldfish crackers, then for sure the weight will just, fall off of me. It's just not true. In order for our metabolism to work the way that it is meant to, we have to fuel our fire. So I like to think of the metabolism as a fire. If you put 3 big logs on at the beginning of the day and then left it throughout the rest of the day, your fire would burn out pretty quickly. But if you put on little newspaper and some little twigs and some little kindling all throughout the day, your metabolism will burn strong all day long, and that is our goal. Okay, myth, I have to spend hours in the kitchen in order to eat healthy. Just not true. I promise, it's just not true. There are plenty of ways that we can do this in a simple manner to set you up for success, have the food that you need without having to spend half your life cooking, right? And myth, if I go out to eat at restaurants, it'll be hard to eat healthy. Again, I promise, just not true. Okay, why we need to be prioritizing protein. So again, I'm going to go back to Peter Attia. Again, he did all the research for me. This is all stuff that I know from experience, but I love that he put it together in a book and has the research to back it up. So one macronutrient in particular demands more of our attention than most people realize, and it's not carbs and it's not fat, but it's protein. It's critically important, especially as we age. Number 2, we don't want to be consuming protein for energy purposes at all. We're consuming protein for muscle protein synthesis. So when we lift weights, we break down our muscle tissue, and when we eat protein, we build up our muscle protein. That's the whole goal. And then most people do not consume enough protein. Protein consumption is a variable I've become increasingly attuned with my patients, and that's just a quote straight from Peter Attia. Okay, so why should we be prioritizing protein? So after the age of 30, we women lose muscle at a rate of 3% to 8% of our total muscle mass per decade. And then bone density is 0.5 to 3% per year, with an increased loss after menopause. So again, menopause is 1 day on the calendar. After menopause, you increase your bone density loss at a much higher rate. So it's super, super important to get sufficient protein in our diet in order to combat that. Number 1, muscle maintenance and growth. So it preserves our muscle mass. Number 2, bone health prevents osteoporosis. And this is especially important if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis in your family, specifically your mother or grandmother. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you have somebody in your family who already has a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis. And I will share that my mom does. And it makes me just increasingly aware. So she has fallen. My parents moved up here to be close to family about 6 years ago. And since moving here, she's had 3 falls and she has broken bones every time. And it makes me so sad for her. And I do remember when we're growing up, she was very healthy, always cooked homemade, meals, but she eats like a bird. And I would say protein was definitely not her priority. And she only started lifting weights like in her late 60s or so. So we do have the ability to overcome this. And I'm going to share some success stories tomorrow. I'm so excited about those. And one of them is my client Jan, and she has made a huge improvement in her bone health as well, just through attending my Fit Zone classes. So metabolism and weight management. So the more muscle you have, the higher resting metabolism you have, which means the more calories you burn just sitting here. Okay. Hormonal balance, so protein intake supports the production of our hormones. Immune function, so we prevent illnesses and maintain overall health with prioritizing protein. And then here's another cool one. As women, we care so much about hair and skin and nails. Well, collagen and keratin is part of protein. Okay, so that's another great reason to be prioritizing protein. And here is my take on how to actually do this. So what we don't need to do is obsess over it. I have been there myself. I have coached many clients who are obsessing. And here's the thing that we don't need to do is come to the table with a calculator. We do not need to weigh and measure every morsel of our food, but we do need to be aware. We do need to understand which foods contain protein. We do need to have an idea of how many servings per day that we're getting compared to the recommendations, and then learn some easy ways to really increase protein intake. Hey, Catherine, thanks for being on. Yay, Jan, I'm so glad you're here. Awesome. Okay, so the RDA, this is what everybody wants. Again, the TLDR, tell me how much protein should I be getting? And I'm going to tell you this. And then I'm also going to back that up with, again, just like how heavy should my weights be when I lift, you got to just assess where you are currently today and then make some improvements. Baby steps. We're not if you currently are really not prioritizing protein or really even thinking about it, and then you all of a sudden go to 150 grams, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. This doesn't work. This doesn't feel good. So we have to do this in a realistic way in order for it to be sustainable. So the RDA tells us that we need 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And in my opinion, and most of the literature that you will read from actual nutrition people say that is just not enough. The FDA just has not caught up with what the current findings are. Peter Attia says 2 grams of protein per kilogram, or about 1 gram per pound. So if you are 154 pounds, then you need 154 grams of protein in your day. Again, that's probably a huge jump for most people. So a lot of times when you hear that and you're like, well, that's not even possible, I give up, right? So what I really would love to encourage you to try to do is to focus on increasing protein at each meal, maybe 20 to 25 grams for 4 meals out of the day, and then you'll get there. And then I would like to tell you guys that after today's, when I send the recap email of today, I have 2 blog posts that are going to break all of these concepts down so that you don't have to be writing down all these notes I should have told you at the beginning. And we're almost out of time. I'm going to go over just by a little bit today because I don't want to cut any of this out. But if you do have to hop off, because I did say we'd be done at 12:30, I totally get it. And you can always catch the replay. All right. So, Rebecca, I actually see your comment. So, actually, I'll just go back. So it does matter where you're starting out from. So for a woman who engages in regular strength training or has, high fitness levels, you're going to need more protein. For someone who is has a lower activity level, then you might need lower. It is also based on your weight and your health goals. So it does matter. And then again, you can start with just seeing where you are today and realizing oh, I guess I'm really not even getting very much protein at all, and then just starting there. So baby steps. Okay, simple strategies. And again, I'm going to send this to you guys because I know it's tiny on here. It's hard to read. But number 1, when starting with lifting weights, I definitely recommend consulting a professional, because at the beginning you're like, what do I do? You're like, I'm going to watch some YouTube videos and try to figure this out. And a lot of times, our technique is probably not going to be right. We're not like getting coached on the form. And also, because we're creatures of habit, we probably tend to do the same things day in and day out. And then that's where the professional can come in and say like, hey, we want to keep the body and the brain guessing, so we're not getting into that rut. Like if you're doing overhead shoulder presses 5 days a week, like you're gonna have injury and things like that. So you definitely want to make sure that you're getting either a plan, or you're taking a class like Fit Zone, where you don't have to do the thinking, like you just show up and then I'll coach you through. And then start with basics. So there's just some fundamental exercises. And again, in the blog that I will send after this, there's a video breakdown of each of the fundamental exercises. So if you want to do this on your own, you absolutely can. And I'll kind of coach you through what like a basic squat looks like and what a basic bicep curl looks like and things like that. Okay, here's an important one: consistency over intensity. So what I mean by that is we need to be consistently strength training. And what that means is get into a routine. 2 days a week, great, get into the routine. Go over and over and over again. And that's where you're going to really see the benefits, versus like that weekend warrior who's like, oh my gosh, I worked out both Saturday and Sunday and then like didn't do it again for a month, right? Again, you're going to start with moderate resistance and then build your way up to heavier, weights and more advanced moves later. And then incorporate variety. Again, like it doesn't always have to be dumbbells. You could do body weight, you could do resistance bands, but just make sure that you're changing up the way that like the different modalities that you're doing each day, so that your body doesn't get used to it, and so that your mind, like, keep it interesting so that you want to keep going back for more and more. Okay, when you become intentional with lifting weights, at first, you might be intimidated, but after you like practice and this becomes just something that is your routine, you will start to feel confident. You will start to crave it. Okay, this is one that I know you're like, yeah, right, Joan, but I promise it's so true. Like you will be like, oh my gosh, I miss it. If you miss a few days, you're like, oh, I can't wait to lift again. You'll feel powerful. You'll notice increased strength in your everyday activities, and you'll notice improved body image and self-esteem. So what does it look like IRL? So this is a sample week where you're getting 2 45-minute strength exercises or days in your week, so 90 minutes total. And in my opinion, that really is like the bare minimum. And that could be 30 minutes 3 days a week, or 45 2 days a week. So Monday, you take Fit Zone and you do a 45-minute strength workout. Tuesday, you go for a walk outside. Wednesday, do some yoga and some gentle stretches. Thursday, it's time to lift weights again. Friday, go for a hike with your friends. Saturday, take a leisurely walk with your dog. And Sunday, take the off day. Now, this is something I have stood behind for years. Pretty much my whole adult life is I don't do anything on Sundays. So I typically wear my activity watch, and I love it, and it like helps me stay in my routine and my ritual of exercise. But on Sunday, it doesn't even go on. I try to like relax, and maybe I'll walk the dog and do some house chores, but that's about it. Okay, prioritizing protein. So here are some of those top tips. And again, I'll send this because I know it's tiny on the screen, but start your day with protein. So break your fast with protein. A protein smoothie is a great idea, Greek yogurt, eggs, my famous protein pancake recipe, which I will also send. Number 2, prioritize protein at each meal. So what I recommend here is start with your protein. When you're thinking about making lunch or snack or dinner, start with protein and then build the rest of the plate around it. And I promise you, you will start to feel and see the changes in your body. Snack smartly. So there are tons of protein-packed snacks that you can get throughout your day that are also going to help you reach your protein goals. For example, hard-boiled eggs, smoked salmon, energy balls with protein powder, nuts and seeds, sliced turkey, avocado. All of these things have good amounts of protein in them and can help you get that protein level up throughout the day. If you know me, one of my favorite words is prep, food prep, when it comes to just making sure that you are set up for success. Most protein requires cooking. So you have to figure out, like if you want a chicken breast on your salad at lunch today, you don't want to go down into the kitchen and have to get out the pan and take out the chicken and cook your chicken and wait for it to cool off and then stick it on your salad. Like that's what food prep is. It's setting you up for success. So you take some time when you're not busy and stressed and chaotic and pulled in a million directions, and you put the chicken, you cook it, you chop it up, you put it in the fridge. So when it's time for lunch, you pull it out, you put it on your salad, and you're good to go. And then finally, quick and easy options. So we are just coming off of a house remodel, a kitchen remodel, where I did not have access to my kitchen for a couple weeks. And I will tell you, there are plenty of quick and easy options for protein that don't require any prep at all. It's just about finding the right ones. All right, what you will notice when you become intentional with your protein intake, it'll keep the hangries at bay. You'll actually start to crave it, just like with weights. You'll feel more satisfied after your meals. You will have more energy. You will have fewer mood swings. You will have better blood sugar regulation. You will notice improvements in your hair and your nail and your skin. And it's not hard to get sufficient protein. It just takes prep and intentionality. So what does this look like IRL? And again, we'll send this out so you guys have it. But here's just a couple of sample days where protein is like what you start with, and then you build the rest of the plate around it. And as you can see, you're still getting veggies and healthy complex carbs and healthy fats and all, fruits and all the goodness, but you're just making sure that you're also including protein. Okay, to circle back to yesterday, and we're almost done, you guys, how to create harmony. It's by establishing routines and rituals that ground us and that become outward expressions of our identity as healthy people. So some routines and rituals of examples that I can give. And just as a note, they go with us wherever we go. They're not just the thing we do when we're being good or when we're being healthy, but they're just part of who we are at our core. And so some examples from me personally are food prep, doing my Fit Zone classes, drinking my morning vitamin cocktail, getting my daily walk outside, choosing the healthy option, whether that's at the grocery store or at the restaurant, and then again, prioritizing protein. Okay, here's just a couple of mic drops to leave you guys with. The more you walk, the better you feel. The more you lift, the more muscle you build. The more you get outside, the happier you are. The more hard things you do, the easier life becomes. So walk, lift, get outside, and do hard things. And then finally, no one can eat healthy for you. No one can lift weights for you. No one can exercise for you. That's why getting in shape is the ultimate sign of self-respect. And there is no cheat code. You have to put in the work day in and day out. So homework for day number 2, you're going to assess your current fitness, especially strength training, assess your current nutrition, especially protein, and then name one healthy routine and ritual that you currently have that you're proud of. And then finally, to just give you a little, it's supposed to say day 3. Sorry, you guys, see you tomorrow for day 3. So we're going to bring it all together. Day 3 is where the magic actually happens. So today we went over all the nitty gritty and the reasons and built the case for why these things are important. But tomorrow we're actually going to build your self-care strategy. So we're going to focus on your future vision that we talked about yesterday and why being intentional with your current lifestyle is helpful so that you can step into that new identity. And then we're really going to solidify that self-care strategy. And then we're also going to talk tomorrow about why adding accountability is crucial because, again, we're not meant to do this alone. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed day 2. I hope you got a lot of good nuggets. The replay is going to be available right away. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or if you want to watch it again so you can really take it in. And again, I'll send you those 2 blog posts as a recap of today's information. Thank you guys. Bye, Sharon. Bye, Tammy. Bye, Kelly. Bye, Carol.